So is the stock market expensive? Is it just really for the rich? Let's talk about that now. Hi guys, so this is Marvin Germo. I'm here in Kuala Lumpur right now. Let's talk about the basics of the market. Over the past few weeks, we've been doing a lot more basic videos to help you and give you a glimpse of the stock market, that it's not as hard as what most people think it is. Now let's break this misconception that people think the stock market is just for rich people. You need to have millions and billions of money to be part of the stock market. Please remember this: every time you invest in a stock, every time you buy a share of a corporation, it makes you a part owner. Meaning, if you buy Jollibee, you are exposed to what's happening to Jollibee. It gives you ownership. So if you'd buy a company, if you'd buy BDO, you'd buy a mall, you'd buy a gasoline station, you buy a grocery, it takes millions upon millions or even billions upon billions of money to become a part owner of it. So since you're becoming a part owner, since you're buying shares of stocks in the market, what it does for you is you can have a piece of it for a very small price. So please remember this: it's a misconception that when you enter the stock market, you need to have a large amount of money to be an investor. You need to have a large amount of money to take part of it. It's very far from the truth. Why? Because you just need a small amount of money to take part, to have a piece of the action. So the stock market is not as expensive or as knee-deep in capital as what everyone thinks it is. To become a shareholder, a part owner of a company, you just need a small amount of money. Even opening an account doesn't take a large amount of money for you to be able to have access to it. As long as you have an online brokerage, what you need to do is just check the stock that you want to buy, and there's a term that they call board lot. What does it do? What does it mean? Board lot is the minimum multiple of shares that you need to be able to buy a stock. I'll go on with specific stocks later on, but basically it's this. For you to be able to know how much it will cost you to buy a stock, it's just the stock price multiplied by the minimum number of shares. So what does that mean? If the stock is 10 and for example it has a board lot of say 100, it's just actually 10 times 100, and that's just the amount that you need to pay for. So how much is that? That's just 1,000 pesos. Imagine this, 1,000 pesos to become a part owner of the largest companies in the stock market. So the stock market is not as expensive as what you think it is. You just need a small amount of money to have exposure and become a part owner of what's happening in our growing economy. So let's break it down more. Alright, so let's talk about this stock, MPI or Metro Pacific Investments, which is a large conglomerate here in the Philippines run by Manny Pangilinan, which is exposed to Meralco, Maynilad, hospitals, construction, toll roads. It's a billion-peso company exposed in almost every part, every region, every province in the Philippines. But look at this, the board lot for the stock is only 100, meaning at a stock price of 5.02, you only need 100 shares to buy Metro Pacific Investments. So what does that mean, and how does that play in the grand scheme of things? For you to be able to buy the stock, you just need 5.02 times 100, which brings us to 502 pesos per share. Plus all of the charges that are incurred, you will just have an amount that's less than 600 pesos. You will only pay 524.50 pesos per share to have 100 shares of one of the largest conglomerates here in the country. So that's what I'm telling you. It's not as expensive as what everyone thinks it is. Investing in the market is very cheap. Anyone can do it. 500 pesos, you can spend that when you go to the mall. So why not change your narrative? Change the way you think, change the way you see things. Instead of just spending a lot on things that don't matter, use that money so that you can buy and be exposed and be invested. I say this over and over, even in my seminars, know that I'd rather have a potential to lose money on an investment than buy something that I don't need, which later on won't have any value later on. This one for 525 pesos positions you and gives you the ability to live life at your own terms, and also allows you to be able to invest for the long term. Now, another stock, let's look at Ayala Land. Ayala Land, as you all know, is one of my favorite stocks. Ayala Land's amazing. It's growing. It's not similar to MPI. It's exposed to almost every province here in the country. You all know Ayala Land from Ayala Land Premier, Alveo, Avida, the malls that they have, Amaya, etc. To buy a stock of Ayala Land, the board lot for it is only 100 pesos. Given a stock price of 43.95, for you to be able to buy a stock of Ayala Land, it's only 100 times 43.95 pesos per share. What does that mean? It means that you will, to own a piece of the company, it only takes 4,395 pesos plus the total fees. You would only be around 4,418.28 pesos to be a part owner of the company. So guess what? For less than 5,000 pesos, you're exposed already in the largest property developer here in the country. And that's why the stock market is not so expensive. That's why it's not just for the rich, because you can be part of it with just a very, very, very small amount. Now let's move on to this. Let's move on to one of my favorite brands here in the country. Let's talk about JFC. Let's talk about Jollibee. Given the stock price of 288, the board lot for Jollibee is only 10. So please remember this also. It's structured in a way that it's available for anyone and everyone. Why? The bigger the stock price, the lower the board lot. The lower the stock price, the bigger the board lot. So it doesn't get as expensive. So for Jollibee, it's only 288 times 10. To be a part owner of Jollibee, it's only 2,880 plus the charges. You come up with 2,902.98 pesos per share. So as you notice it, to be a shareholder of Jollibee is less than 3,000 pesos. To own a franchise is 40 million. And if you own a franchise, owning a franchise just gives you one store, one location, one area, subjects you to the risk in that particular city. But owning a stock of Jollibee exposes you to all of their stores, not just here in Manila, not just here in the Philippines, but to all of their stores around the world. Lastly, let's focus on a telco stock. So I'm showing you diversified companies from Jollibee, which is a fast food chain, from Ayala Land, which is a property development company, from Metro Pacific Investments, which is a very, very, very diversified conglomerate. Now let's go to Telco Globe. A lot of people are so scared now. Globe is a very, very, very expensive company because the stock price is very, very high. But look at this, a stock price of 2,008 pesos per share. By the way, please remember, stock price would move every time, every day, every minute. It changes and it moves, but the board lot doesn't change as much. It only changes when it hits specific milestones or markers that will cause the board lot to shift. But to own Globe, the board lot for Globe is only 5. So as you've noticed, the higher the stock price, the lower the board lot. So to own a stock of Globe, it's 2,008 times 5. You only pay 10,040 pesos plus the charges. The total amount, the total value for you to be able to own a piece of Globe is only 10,070.12 pesos per share. So guess what? It's not as expensive as everyone thinks it is. Owning a stock of Globe is even cheaper than buying an iPhone, buying a cell phone that you don't need, that 10, 20, 30 years from now, that phone won't have any value. But guess what? Buying a stock of Globe will give you revenues not just now, but it will give you dividends for years and years and years and years to come. So as you can see, it doesn't really take a lot of money to be able to buy and sell shares in the market. If you look at it, though, a lot of the stocks are less than 5,000 pesos with the exception of GT Capital, Globe, Ayala Corporation. Majority of the stocks are relatively cheaper as well. So that's what I want to encourage you on. Have the ability, have the strength and the courage to actually start small, because the power of making money in the market is you gaining the conviction, is you gaining the experience to actually do it. Your skills will multiply as you start practicing and practicing and practicing and doing it on a regular basis. So now, what's scaring you? What's keeping you from investing in the markets? Just start with what you need. Just start with an amount that you decide that you can faithfully use. Money that you don't need on a regular basis, money that you don't plan to touch for a very, very long time. And the power of that is this. If you're a long-term investor, I'm not even talking about trading yet. I'm talking about if you have a job and you don't want to trade the markets, you just want to invest, use that small amount of money, that minimum amount that allows you to buy those shares, and just keep adding and adding and adding and adding. Think about it as like a bank, that instead of you adding to your time deposit or savings account, what you're actually doing right now is steadily, small amounts, small portions, you are buying shares of companies. You're buying shares of corporations. Imagine this. Imagine the power of you doing this. You doing it from 20 years old to 60. By the time you hit 60, you won't just be a millionaire. You'll be a multimillionaire. Of course, companies do not go up all the same, and the stock market has some volatilities in and out of it. But here's the thing, and here's the beauty about it. If you pick good companies that you know are good and growing, it's what's going to give you the ability that 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, they'll still be there, they'll still be moving up, and they'll still have the ability to grow even further. So that's what I like about it. Instead of just putting your money in the bank with a small amount and a minimum amount of less than even 10,000 pesos or 5,000 pesos, you get to be exposed to what's happening in our economy. You get to be exposed in companies that are good and growing. And imagine this, my perspective in all of this is that instead of you starting your own business for less than 10,000 pesos, for less than 5,000 pesos, you get to be exposed in companies that are so large and so amazing, companies that are so leveraged. So imagine this. Look at Jollibee. Jollibee is less than, at this point in time, less than 3,000 pesos. For less than 3,000 pesos, you get exposed not just to Jollibee, but all of its subsidiaries. You remember this, Jollibee has more than 1,000 stores, not just in the Philippines, but in Southeast Asia, in North America, and in the Middle East. You add their other brands, Mang Inasal, which is one of the biggest chains in the country. Then you add Red Ribbon, Greenwich, Chowking. Then you add its congee stores and noodle houses in China, and all of the Dunkin' Donuts as well in China. Then you add Smash Burger in the US to the mix. Then you add the latest purchase of Tim Ho Wan, which gives them exposure to the large casual dining scene in Southeast Asia. So you add that for less than 3,000 pesos, you get exposure to all of that. And that's why I like it. You don't need a large amount of money. It's a misconception. Please remember this. It's a misconception that you have to put a large amount of money in the stock market to have exposure into it and to make money off of it. Now, here's the thing about it also. Do you have to put money every time? If you decide to put 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pesos, do you actually have to do it on a regular basis? Here's the thing. When you have the money and it's extra, just put it, but there's no obligation. It's not something that you're forced to put a regular amount. Every time you have extra, put that small amount and keep that piling. The beauty of the stock market is when you just put small shares, compile it, and make it grow over a period of time. So why do I make these videos? Again, the heart of all of this is to just bring more Filipinos closer to the stock market, because I really believe that you guys have the opportunity to make money, to grow your portfolio, and to make your dreams of financial freedom come true. And I really believe that the stock market is pretty much part of it. And I hope you guys learn from this that it doesn't take a large amount of money. You can just use a small amount and let it grow and to reach your goals of financial freedom. So this is Marvin Germo from Malaysia. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon. God bless you.